showing you how I made these tall Adirondack stools. So stay tuned. Since these stools are going to be living outside, I decided to build mine out of cedar. You can build these stools completely from one-by material and then glue two one-bys together in order to create the thicker stock needed for the legs and the cross braces. However, my local store has one-by cedars, but they also have two-by-four cedars. So I went ahead and grabbed some two-by stock for my stool. And instead of having a whole bunch of hand sanding to do later on, I always choose to run the rough side through my planer before getting started. I'm building this project on behalf of Rockler Woodworking and using a set of plans that they have come up with. They not only provide the step-by-step instructions, but also the templates needed for several of the parts. The first thing I did was start making the components needed for the seat assembly. I traced the seat support template on a piece of 1x cedar, then took it over to the bandsaw and started cutting them out. On the first one, I made sure to cut it out as perfectly as I could to the line. But on the second, I just did a rough cutout in order to take away the bulk of the material so that I could then take it over to the router table and use a flush trim bit to get it exact to the very first one that I cut. Next, I wheeled out my job site saw to the porch and started cutting all of the needed slats for the seat. After the slats were cut to length, I went back to the router table and rounded over all of the edges. And I must say, it's awesome having the option of rolling out the equipment to the porch. After all of the components for the seat were made, I started the assembly process. For this entire build, I'm going to be using Titebond 3 since it is a waterproof glue, and these chairs will be living outside. And I'm placing a dowel in between each one to act as a spacer for these slats. I actually made a mistake when assembling the seats. I thought the plan said to leave an overhang of 3/8 of an inch on either side. So that's what I'm doing here with the spacer. However, I later learned that this is incorrect and the slats should be flush. I end up making it work, but just to let you know, if you end up following the plans, don't do as I do here. After getting all the slats spaced evenly,
Come on. Supposed to bring him out, Dakota. Shit soaking wet all over the fucking floors. What? Dog.
I came through with a pre-drilled countersink bit.
Hi hunters, welcome to my channel. If you're here because you've seen my latest Egypt vlogs, well then, welcome. I went to Egypt in 2020, in the middle of the pandemic, I got COVID. A lot of us did. What other train of thought? Other train of thought. There was lots of things that I saw on the trip that didn't really fit into the vlogs, and I felt that they needed a little bit more explanation, and I wanted to open up and have more of a conversation with you guys about. So today we're going to be talking about the new.
Just no, not much more. No.
Is this the first depiction of the pyramids? Considering that people around that time, they drew what they saw. Animals, things. Did they see the pyramids and doodle them down? Is this proof
Bro,
that the pyramids are
what
actually
there's
at
a.
least 7,000 years?
I don't think the laundry and bag are just had.
Hi hunters, welcome to my
How
channel.
are you?
If you're here because you've seen my latest Egypt vlogs, well then, welcome. I went to Egypt in 2020 in the middle of. of the pyramids. Considering that people around that time, they drew what they saw. Animals, things. Did they see the pyramids and doodle them down? Is this proof that the pyramids are actually at least 7,000 years old? Hi hunters, welcome to my channel. If you're here because you've seen my latest Egypt vlogs, well then, welcome. I went to Egypt in 2020 in the middle of the pandemic. I got COVID. A lot of us did, or other train of thought.
What was that? Wow.
There was lots of things that I saw on the trip that didn't really fit into the vlogs, and I felt that they needed a little bit more explanation, and I wanted to open up and have more of a conversation with you guys about. So, today, we're going to be talking about the Nubian egg, which I'd never heard
She's
of
on
before I
Nash,
walked
Alan.
into the Nubian Museum in Aswan.
Like,
Never
it's
heard of it
annoying.
before.
I guess
Why is
it's
it not more of a thing? I mean, maybe you've heard of it, maybe you haven't, I don't know. Let me just get my notes up. I can't see from here. Wow, I am blind. The Nubian egg, otherwise known as the Aswan egg or the egg. I don't know. So the egg first popped up in 1907.
the fuck happened? Interesting videos to watch. I haven't.
Is this the first depiction 7,000 years old? Hi hunters, welcome to my channel. If you're here because
There's
you've
flame.
seen my latest
Is that?
Egypt vlogs,
Hmm.
well, is this the first depiction of the pyramids? Into the vlogs, and I felt that they needed a little bit more explanation, and I wanted to open up and have more of a conversation with you guys about. So, today, we're going to be talking about the Nubian egg, which I'd never...
Dude, every time I go to full screen, it doesn't work. Down?
I got COVID.
I got COVID, boy. I'm feeling sick.
Train of thought. There was lots of things that I saw on the trip that didn't really fit into the vlogs, and I felt that they needed a little bit more explanation, and I wanted to open up and have more of a conversation with you guys about. So, today, we're going to be talking about the Nubian egg, which I'd never heard of before I walked into the Nubian Museum in Aswan. Never heard of it before. Why is it not more of a thing? I mean, maybe you've heard of it, maybe you haven't, I don't know. Let me just get my notes up. I can't see from here. Wow, I am blind. The Nubian egg, otherwise known as the Aswan egg or the egg. I don't know. So the egg first popped up in 1907 in the grave of some unknown dude, Nubian dude, and when they like carbon dated everything, it was 7,000 years old. Well, the dude was, the dead guy. He was 7,000 years old, and the stuff that was in his grave, therefore, minimum must be 7,000 years old. It was about 4,500 BC. That's what the tag said. So the egg could be older than that, but minimum this thing is 7,000 years old. Now, the thing that's weird about it, I mean, the minute that you see it, it's quite obvious. There is literally like 3 pyramids on this egg. And then what's weird is that next to it, there's like a kind of wiggly line. Some would say a snake, some would say a river. Some people think it's the Nile because it is actually pretty much bang on in the right location to have from the pyramids to the Nile, like geographically. On one side of the egg,
The hell? This is bullshit, dude. In fact, yeah, one of those.
talking about the Nubian egg, which I'd never heard of, in the grave of some unknown dude. So the egg could be older than think it's the Nile. Lodge in the middle, like a big belly, which some people say snaky Nile thing. So that kind of made me think, is it a depiction? I mean, maybe you've heard of it, maybe you haven't, I don't know. Let me just get my notes up. I can't see from here. Wow, I am blind. The Nubian egg, otherwise known as
The Aswan egg.
or the egg, I don't know. So the egg first popped up in 1907 in the grave of some unknown dude, Nubian dude, and when they like carbon dated everything, it was 7,000 years old. Well, the dude was, the dead guy. He was 7,000 years old, and the stuff that was in his grave, therefore, minimum must be 7,000 years old. It was about 4,500 BC. That's what the tag said. So the egg could be older than that, but minimum this thing is 7,000 years old. Now, the thing that's weird about it, I mean, the minute that you see it, it's quite obvious. There is literally like 3 pyramids on this egg. And then what's weird is that next to it, there's like a kind of wiggly line. Some would say a snake. Some would say a river. Some people think it's the Nile because it is actually pretty much bang on in the right location to have from the pyramids to the Nile, like geographically. On one side of the egg, it has the 3 pyramids and a kind of snake-like, river-like thing with a kind of splodge in the middle, like a big belly, which some people say it's an area of the Nile which used to have like a lake attached to it. And then on the other side of the egg, there's another 3 pyramids and then more of a, just like a regular snaky Nile thing. So that kind of made me think, is it a depiction of the pyramids of Giza? If it's on 2 sides of the same egg? I'm not sure. I don't know. What do you think? Is it 2 different views of Giza, like from the east and the west? No, that doesn't work, does it? If you know why this egg has 2 sets of pyramids on, like, let me know, because it's on my mind. It's living rent-free in my brain. Some skeptics have said that the triangles obviously represent the Sudanese pyramids, which are actually tombs, and they're very like tall and spiky, like much like the ones on the egg. However, those tombs were built like 4,000 years ago, and this egg is 7,000 years old, so the dates don't match. Also, the spirally bit at the top, and I'm going way into like conspiracy theory zone here, but the top of the egg has like a kind of circular thing with like 3 rings around it. I mean, where else in sort of ancient history is there a place with 3 circular rings in? Just saying.
America?
My mind did jump to Atlantis. I was like, is this some kind of pre-history story enclosed on this egg? Is it to do with something like that? Is it like Atlantis and the pyramids and the journey or the rivers or the snakes? I don't know, but it popped into my head. I did find this article that said on the floor of the tomb found little pottery chips which had markings on, which might actually be the very first kind of very early markings of writing, which kind of outdate the Sumerian writing, which is supposed to be like the first writing in the world. So if that's true, then why don't we know about this writing? That these little tiny triangles also appeared on the markings on the little pieces of pottery, and apparently they were just drawing things like birds, trees, clouds, animals, and these were mountains. That's it. Case solved. They were mountains. Mountains, like, they're not that graphic. Also, mountains don't seem to have like it almost looks like they've got the lines, as you see with the pyramid. When you look up to the pyramid, it's made
Here's a
of lots
mountain.
of different bricks, but what's really obvious is that it's made in steps, hundreds and hundreds of lines, and those lines are depicted in these little drawings. It definitely looks more like a pyramid than it does a mountain. But then I don't know, I always have to be careful that I'm not just choosing to believe something because I really want to believe that it's real. I have to try and look at everything through evidence and science and fact and rationality and just see where I sit with it all. The Greeks, having a Google, come across a thing called the Orphic egg. Never heard of that. It's like Greek mythology, kind of like a Greek origin story. They said their main god, Phanes, or what's his name? Phanes. He was equated to Zeus, so we're just going to go with Zeus because everybody knows Zeus. This is the dude. Zeus came out of an egg, a cosmic egg, and kind of started everything. And then from then on, he made the other gods, and it's always depicted as this egg with a serpent around it. It's interesting because in other parts of ancient culture and history, they say that like cosmic serpents are comets, as in like the Younger Dryas. Things are connecting. The god's name Phanes, it literally means to bring light, and he created everything, the universe, the other gods, with light. Where have we heard that before? In the Bible. To bring light, to shine. The Latin word also can be related to Lucifer. Maybe it's a demon devil egg. Who knows? What do you think? Then I fell down a little bit of a wormhole about eggs on the internet, as you do, and I found this other egg that's also completely mind-blowing. And this egg kind of came onto the scene in like 2012. It turned up at some sort of antique marketplace. What's interesting about it is one of the first maps, but in like a global sphere shape. And it's made out of not one, but two ostrich eggs. But what's really interesting is that it's like a full-on map of the world in a very, very early form. Apparently, this is how they dated it. They took it to like a bone doctor and they scanned it, and then they looked at the bone density and realized that it had been reduced by 50%. So then they were like, that means it was made in the year 1504. It's around the same time on the end of Christopher Columbus, but after his main expedition. But the weird thing about this egg is that it doesn't have like North America on it. It has a couple of islands in the Caribbean and a lot of the South America, but it doesn't have North America. Over on the eastern side, more the India-Asia side, there's a piece in Latin that said "Hic sunc dracons." Hic sunc dracons. That's probably not how you say it, which translates to "Here there be dragons." You couldn't make this up. I think some people have speculated that it was maybe copied and drafted from old maps like the Piri Piri map, if you don't know what that is.
I make that shit. What the fuck was the on? What the Moses and Furling down? Do I get there supposed to?
To the pharaoh Akhenaten. Dun, dun, dun. I am so interested in the idea that ancient texts, ancient religions, the origin stories for them, how connected are they? Do people reuse, retell, adapt, change, absorb? Where does tradition and religion come from? It all has to come from something and someone. I do truly believe that every ancient myth, story, legend, there is based in a kernel of truth. There was a historical human that would have inspired that, and I'm fascinated by it. So when I saw this, I was like, oh my god, I have to look into this. What if the ancient patriarch of Moses was actually hiding in Egyptian history? Let's first do a little bit of background on Pharaoh Akhenaten. You may have heard of him. I didn't know that much, but I definitely recognized him. So he decided when he got to power that he was going to scrap the like multi-god dynastic religion of Egypt. He was going to try and dismantle the priesthood, the ancient priesthood that had a lot of power. The priests had a lot of power in Egypt. They were the wisdom keepers, the secret keepers. They were in charge of the temples. They were the only ones that were allowed into the Holy of Holies. They were kind of the gatekeepers of the spiritualism and the mysticism. And anyway, Akhenaten decided that he wanted to like scrap all that. He wanted to go back to a more spiritual and enlightened and individual religion where anybody could access consciousness, a higher enlightened state. You didn't need to go through priesthood, and you didn't need to praise or worship multiple gods. There was just sort of one creator, one consciousness. He was in the 18th dynasty, which was around the New Kingdom, 1350 BC. He wasn't that well known until the 19th century, and then they discovered him, and now obviously he gets quite a lot of interest because people go, oh my god, he invented like monotheism and he invented like New Age spirituality. Turns out no, he didn't. He was harking back to a time when people were of an enlightened state and in a higher consciousness. I don't think the dude invented it. I think he was doing a throwback. But Akhenaten is the guy. If you really don't know who he is, he's the guy who married Queen Nefertiti. You must know her. She's like well famous. Both of them were trying to be good examples of what they were trying to talk about. The main god that was like put as the top god out of all the other gods in dynastic Egypt was Amun, and it was the priesthood of Amun called the Hanuti, and they were the priesthood that Pharaoh Akhenaten was trying to dismantle because he preferred just one god, one entity, one deity, one force, and it was called Aten. People think that he invented it, but he didn't. The concept of this god Aten was recorded way back in the 3rd dynasty from the Old Kingdom, 2700 BC. It was in the reliefs there. What Akhenaten was actually doing was throwing back to an ancient god, to the time of Aten, which, again, this date just keeps popping up, but the time of Aten was around the 9500 BC time. Yes, the Younger Dryas time was apparently, according to the ancient Egyptian history, the time of enlightenment, the age of Aten. And that's when humans had a higher consciousness, they were super connected to the one consciousness. They didn't have writing because they didn't need writing. It was all more about sound and connection, and we were just like in a higher state. And then the age of Aten ended. Hakim has this ancient tradition, this ancient theory that humans go through the 5 stages. There are 5 stages of the sun, there are 5 stages of the human cycle, there are 5 stages of like human development, and we keep going round and round and round, with Aten being the enlightened one and Amun being the hidden. We're in the dark age. We don't know what the hell's going on. We're stuck. So interestingly, the age of Aten was around the time of the Dryas, and then you moved into the age of Gemini, which was around 6000 BC, which Hakim said was when the north and the south of Egypt kind of split into two, warring the north and south. And then eventually they were joined together around 3100 BC under the first pharaoh of dynastic Egypt. And then by the time we got to around 2000 BC, we were fully in the age of Amun, in the age of the hidden, and we'd gone right off track. And we were like the opposite to the side of age of Aten. Right, are you with me? So there's lots of ages. Aten's the kind of spiritual one, and Amun's the like heavily religious one.
Wow. And Advertisement. Yeah, back up. Exit full screen labs. One and no, I have it this one. I haven't. Yeah, interesting.
I've been doing a ton of.
I was just watching this and it happened. Now it's
There was
all
no
over.
recordings of him torturing, maiming, killing, forcing anyone to do this enlightened path. He was, yes, he was trying to change the whole thing, but he didn't.
Remember.
And we were like the opposite to the side of age of Aten. Right, are you with me? So there's lots of ages. Aten's the kind of spiritual one, and Amun's there's a fly in here. Also, one cool thing I just want to add in about Pharaoh Akhenaten. He was trying to like dismantle what was going on, but he didn't do it with like horrific force or violence. Like, there is no recordings of him torturing, maiming, killing, forcing anyone to do this enlightened path. He was trying to change the whole thing, but he didn't do it in the way that most other religions in history have, like, you know, all the wars and the crusades and stuff. Like, he didn't kill and punish people for not believing in what he believed in. He wanted to lead by example rather than, like, violence. How, you say? How is Moses connected to Akhenaten, and what is all that about? We're getting there, I promise, we're getting there. You just got to learn a little bit about the kind of family tree of Akhenaten to understand where all of the ancient teachings possibly could have come from, and then we can see where Moses comes into it. So, are you ready for the family tree of Akhenaten? So we've got Akhenaten, who originally, that wasn't his name. His name was Amenhotep IV, technically, but when he became pharaoh, he changed his name to Akhenaten. So you've got Amenhotep, get it? Amen, from the god that was being praised before. And then he changed it to Akhenaten to be, like, for his god. That was his enlightened name. So his dad was Amenhotep III. So Amenhotep III married a woman called Tai, or Taiyi, and she was rumored to have Asiatic roots and Semitic heritage. So she was, like, not indigenously from there, and she was the one that's attributed for teaching a lot of the things like the stages of the sun and the whole kind of ethos of what he believed in, the Enlightenment and whatnot and what forth, came from his mum, Tai. Now, Tai's father was a guy called Yuya, and Yuya's a real person. They literally found his grave, and Yuya was also not supposed to be from Egypt. He had Semitic roots, and he was the top aide, the right-hand man to the king, Amenhotep III's daddy, Thutmose IV. Are you still with me? So we've got Thutmose IV, and we've got Yuya, best buds, working together, colleagues, second in command, Yuya. Yuya has a daughter, Tai. Thutmose IV has a son, Amenhotep III. These two get it on and have a baby called Pharaoh Akhenaten. Are you with me? I hope you are. Yuya is very exciting because there is a theory that Yuya was the historical origin story for Joseph in the Bible. Joseph, not Joseph, Jesus' dad, the one way back, Joseph and his Technicolor Dreamcoat. We all know, like, you must know that story. The guy who ended up going to Egypt and then being able to, like, interpret dreams for the pharaoh and then ended up having a great time. Is that the story? So Joseph, interestingly, oh my god, this fly. Yuya, where are you?
It's interesting that the name Joseph in Hebrew and Aramaic is Yusuf, and Yusuf and Yuya both contain one of the Hebrew names for God. Just saying.
Yuya, Yusuf, Joseph, I mean, I can't, you know what I mean? This guy, Yuya, because he is a historical dude and they found his grave, they found him and they found reference to him, he was given some titles by the pharaoh that are the same titles that Joseph got in the Bible. Thutmose IV, which was the pharaoh that Yuya/Joseph was working with, best buds. Thutmose IV was the only pharaoh that we have any record of being interested in dreams and translating dreams, because Thutmose IV was the dude to do with the stela in between, the dream stela in between the pinks of the Sphinx, the paws of the Sphinx. It was all about this guy, dude, Thutmose IV, saying that if he had this crazy, like, off his head dream, saying if he cleared the sands away from the Sphinx, then he was gonna, like, become pharaoh or something. Anyway, regardless of that, the point is, Thutmose IV was the dude about dreams. So it makes sense that Yuya was working for the dude that liked to talk about dreams. I mean, there's a theme here, people. I've lost my train of thought. That fly is really annoying me. So Yuya might possibly be the patriarch Joseph. A little sidestep, there was another guy called Amenhotep, but not Amenhotep, Akhenaten's daddy, Amenhotep, son of Hapi, and he was in Thutmose IV's court.
So he was around the time that this Yuya guy was. And so in Tutmos IV's court, there was Amenhotep, the son of Hapi. I think he was a very important person. He obviously was. They made 2 statues to him. But he is sat in a very unusual way. When you see these statues, you immediately think, oh, he's Asian. Like, he looks like a Tibetan monk. The very, very Asian style seated stance. So there is a theory that Amenhotep, son of Hapi, was an old respected sage. He was a wise leader and he came from an Asiatic background. So this dude was bringing that kind of like Far Eastern stuff. Now, why is that important? Because in the Comitian history, there were 42 tribes of like ancient indigenous Comitian people. In their tradition, some of those tribes broke off and traveled to the Far East, set up places over there to live, and therefore anybody from the Far East traveling back and would therefore be bringing back a mixture of traditions from the Far East, but also possibly original cultural, religious elements from original Kemet, which makes sense. If Akhenaten was harking back to a time from thousands and thousands of years before, following this god Aten, it also makes sense that a lot of his spiritual enlightened teachings could have come from the Far East, but they're saying also came from original Kemet. Are you with me? Does that make sense? If you're still with me on this one, well done, because this is like... He is also quite famous because you will probably have recognized his statue, because every statue that he commissioned his priests to make, he said, make it in my image, but all my flaws and stuff, like don't make me look like a Superman. All the other Egyptian pharaohs kind of look like carbon copies of this like buff action hero with like a face that doesn't really look like has any emotion. So Akhenaten's likeliness was very unusual. It had his flaws. He has a belly. He's got like man boobs. He's got like big hips. He's kind of, he looks, he does look kind of part mixed race Asiatic. He's got the long extended head. That what happened was he said to the priest said, you know what, go for it, go for his flaws. And they were so excited by the commission without having the restriction that they went hard and they went ham. Said, you know what, go for it, go for his flaws. And they were so excited by the commission without having the restriction that they went hard and they went ham and they kind of went overboard. And he looks like a cartoon. People go at him saying he had a genetic condition or he was impotent. He had 6 daughters. That dude wasn't impotent. So what happened in a nutshell with Akhenaten is that at the end of his reign, what he tried to achieve and the big thing that he tried to change didn't basically happen. And after he died, his successor, Tutankhamun, and all the other Egyptian pharaohs tried to erase it. They did a smear campaign. They tried to erase his name, smash his statues. They brought back the old priesthood for the Amen. They brought back all the old gods, mummification. Oh yeah, they took away mummification. Akhenaten was like, you don't need all that shit, dude. You're just, at one with the world and stuff. There was like a complete reverse Uno after that time period, which is a shame, because I think there was a lot of positives that he was trying to implement.
Where am I? Brain freeze. It's so hot. It is so hot in here.
Right, now we're getting to Moses. Let's just get into the Moses bit here, because that's what you wanted to see. They found a tomb belonging to a right-hand man, like a prime minister, as it were, called Ramesu. And Ramos, they found the tomb to this guy full of it was ready with reliefs. However, they didn't find the body. Theory is that maybe this Ramos dude didn't get buried in Egypt. He was being prepared for burial there, but he didn't actually die there. It was like the right-hand man. He was also known as the fan bearer and the ear of the king.
The running theory is that this Ramos dude, and Mos in the Greek is Moses. So Ramos, Moses, it's a very similar name. In the relief, in Ramos's tomb, there is a relief depicting 12 tribes, which Hakim said traditionally those 12 tribes, like I said before, in ancient Kemet, there were 42 tribes. Some of those tribes went off to the Far East in Asia. 12 of those tribes broke off from ancient Kemet and became the 12 tribes of Israel. That is what their indigenous historical story says. And the 12 tribes of Israel happen to be in Ramos, this close confidant of Pharaoh Akhenaten. At the end of Akhenaten's reign, or towards the end of the reign when it all wasn't going very well, or after he died, Ramos left Egypt with the Atenists, with the people who wanted to still have this one god religion, and left because they didn't want to stay and go back to the ways of Amun. And so those people who left, the Atenists, became later the 12 tribes of Israel. Now you're like, but didn't they have to be Hebrew? Well, again, Hakim is saying that he believes ancient people, the Hebrews, were from ancient Kemet, that they have ancient African origins, and that these Hebrew people were from there originally. At the Ramesseum, there is a relief there that depicts this like big fight between the Amen supporters and the Aten supporters, and it shows a huge like sea battle between them, and it shows that the Atenites were defeated by the Amen dudes. Basically, it is a complete ending reversal of the Exodus story. In the Bible Exodus story, the Hebrews get out of Egypt, they cross the sea, Moses parts the sea, and then the Pharaoh and all the Egyptians come, and then the sea comes back, and then they get destroyed in the sea, and they all are drowning and stuff. This was like propaganda to they did the smear campaign against Akhenaten, and they trashed his name and they trashed his face. It makes sense that they would also rewrite history and be like, yeah, we won in the battle against the Atenites because we're the best. Like, that happens all the time in history. So this is like a kind of possible propaganda story relief showing the opposite to what the Exodus Bible story says. Interesting. So then the theory is that these Atenites then went out and were like nomadic because they didn't have a home anymore, and they went out and then they would come across tribes from Canaanite tribes from Canaan, and the Midianites and all of the other ones, and then they kind of got absorbed and they became the Israelites, and they became the followers of El, the servants of El, which is what Israel means, followers of El. And parts of the elements of the Akhenaten's kind of spiritual way of life ended up being in the melting pot of what became Israel and then the Jewish people. I mean, that's the theory. It's very plausible. Considering we don't have any historical reference or evidence for Moses, and we don't have any historical reference for an exodus out of Egypt from Hebrew slaves. However, we do have like a trail for this Aten follower exodus out of Egypt, and we have a dude called Ramos who never ended up in his tomb but was a close follower, close with the Pharaoh. It just I can see where the origin stories of the Moses story, I can totally see where this would stem from. And the same with the Yuya guy, the Joseph guy. He also has incredibly similar situational evidence that makes it look like, I can see how that could have been a kernel of thing that turned into that, to turn into that. I found it all very exciting. I hope you do too. One last thing about the dates. There's one stele called the Israel stele in ancient Egypt. It's the only place where Israel is mentioned. And they mention Israel as not just a place, but a people. The stele was dated to about 100 years after the Akhenaten time frame, which would mean that it took about 100 years from the Aten followers to go out, to move around, to become this like place and people. So what do you think? Do you think it's possible that the Jewish patriarch Joseph was actually Yuya? Do you think that Moses could have been Ramos and he led an exodus of Akhenaten followers out of Egypt, and that became one of the kernels of truth for the Exodus in the Bible?
I don't know, I need to do more research, but it tickled my fancy and I found it very intriguing. And I mean, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please give it a little like, sneaky comment or something, because it just really helps me. It's a free way that you can help support Love You. Oh, a little bit of housekeeping. A couple of spaces have opened up in our tour of Egypt coming up in September. So I'm going to put the link to the tour website down below if you want to join. Maybe the universe has just opened up this little opportunity for you. I will see you guys in the next video. Happy hunting. I need to go have a drink because, wow, the fly's gone. Okay, bye-bye. I've been doing a ton of research into the theory that Moses was connected to the pharaoh Akhenaten. Dun, dun, dun. I am so interested in the idea that ancient texts, ancient religions, the origin stories for them, how connected are they? Do people reuse, retell, adapt, change, absorb? Where does tradition and religion come from? It all has to come from something and someone. I do truly believe that every ancient myth, story, legend, there is based in a kernel of truth. There was a historical human that would have inspired that.
keyboard. There we go. Thank you for the video. It was very interesting and educational.
I am preparing to go to Cologne, Germany.
I've been doing a ton of research into the theory that Moses was connected to the pharaoh Akhenaten.
Is that on YouTube?
I've been doing a ton of research into the theory that Moses was connected to the pharaoh Akhenaten. Dun, dun, dun.
Oh my goodness. 26 videos? All slabs. What the hell is this? La 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 la. Interesting.
Wow, I just came through the hole. Oh my gosh, this is inside the walls. So second stop of the day is Valley of the Temples.
Or King's Valley.
Valley of the King.
Valley of the King. I'm gonna have to find out where the hell I am. Not gonna lie, they are blurring together at this point. But so far all I can see is the actual Valley Mountain, and that's just as impressive. Oh, tickets. Do I have my ticket? Oh no. So as you can see, every single inch of this tomb is covered in inscriptions, hieroglyphs, paintings, pictures. It's incredible. And you just don't see any of this inside pyramids. It just feels entirely different. So my question is, if the pyramids are supposed to be tombs, why don't they look like the other tombs? Another thing I noticed immediately was look how big the entrance space is. You can fit multiple people all the way down into the tomb easily from the bedrock. Whereas in a pyramid, you can't even stand up, let alone drag a body comfortably.
She made Patricia Oyan. She made a whole research about this, and she gathered his image from different parts of the world. Almost every ancient civilization
At the same
had
time.
that character.
Wow. How did they do that if they couldn't travel?
Copper chisels.
Also, traveling as a copper chisels.
Yeah, that's it. Copper chisels.
Is it theory that copper chisels can travel overseas?
What can copper chisels not do?
I mean, that's the question. Better get on Amazon and get it too. I wouldn't look at that and immediately go, "Oh, that's Egyptian."
Is after the dynasty.
I feel like that's a guy
The
from
end
Star
of the
Wars or
dynasty
something.
was the still.
666 is known as the devil's number or the number of the beast. Some people think it's a particularly unlucky or evil number, but where does it come from and what does it really mean? 666 originates from the book of Revelation, the last book of the New Testament, and for those of you who have read it, you know it's a pretty crazy book. It's basically the recounting of a bunch of visions by a guy who calls himself John. It includes everything from a dragon to a star falling out of the sky and turning the entire ocean to poison, valleys filling with the blood of slain people, you know, pretty apocalyptic stuff. The number 666 comes in chapter 13, verses 17 to 18. In this chapter, John has a vision of a multi-headed beast rising out of the ocean. The beast has great power. It enslaves the people of Earth, it kills the saints, it forces people to blaspheme God, and it forces people to put the mark of the beast on the right hand and on the forehead. Let the one who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Notice here that John's not talking about Satan and he's not talking about a demon. He's talking about something that he calls a beast and a man. So who is it? Scholars generally agree that the book of Revelation is an extended polemic against the Roman Empire. In chapter 13, the beast is meant to represent the Roman Empire itself, an evil institution that enslaves the world. The heads of the beast are therefore interpreted to be the Roman emperors. 666 is thought to be a secret code for the evilest emperor of them all, Nero. Let's take Nero's Greek name, Neron Caesar, attested here on a bunch of Nero's Greek coins. And let's spell it in Hebrew letters. Both Greeks and Jews in the first century believed that every single letter the story of Jesus' birth has
Lots of comedians are
My name is Kaylee, and in this video I will be telling you all about the latest
I don't know. Yeah, the play. God, thank you for this video. Thank you for sponsors. Thank you for family. Thank you for friends. Thank you for health. Thank you for abundance. Thank you for every blessing that we have met us today. Amen. Spaced out. Touchdown. Oh, Xbox One. Good call. Xbox games, all PC games. All out for I think I put down with them. Yeah, this one. Steve. Nice station. See if I get my Let's go. the day in the Bible. Wrathful anger. Loving law. 10 Commandments. The covenant of similarity, respect of God. Oh! Laws about slaves. You buy a Hebrew slave, he used to serve for 6 weeks to 5 years with five. Moses blessings. Moses and his death. I have to read. Those on Netflix. Read it later. Check out the stream, see if it's
The one who has understanding calculate the number of the
la 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 la. Get myself a new bike. Somebody wanna donate me a new bike? Awesome. I can get the places. Know anybody hiring? What's this schedule? Got some marijuana. War. Oh yeah. What about the that's a bridge right there. The fuck?